Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another edition of the Cons Cast. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about Google Stadia, which is a product that was unveiled yesterday during their GDC keynote. So what is Google Stadia all about? Well, it's gaming, but in the future, where you no longer need a console, a beefy PC, or anything of the like in order to play video games. You can basically just stream everything directly onto your TV through the use of a Google Chromecast, or you can stream it onto your PC, and it can be a weaker PC. It doesn't really have to be like a big beefy rig with your 2080 Ti's or whatever. No, like regular PC, like a pre-built PC that you can buy at the store for like $300 or something, that will be able to play Google Stadia, at least from my understanding of it. You can play on your tablet, you can play on your phone, you can play anywhere. And therefore, the only real piece of hardware that they're announcing during this, the unveiling of this product, was a gamepad. Now, the only special feature about this gamepad is the fact that it's going to connect to your Wi-Fi network, and it will detect what device you are playing Google Stadia on. So for instance, if you're playing Google Stadia on your TV through your Google Chromecast or whatever, this thing will detect it and it will instantly connect to Google Stadia so that you can start playing your game. If then you suddenly swap into playing on your iPad or whatever, so long as that iPad is also connected on the same Wi-Fi network as your controller, the controller will detect it and the controller will connect itself to the Wi-Fi, and your game state will move directly from your TV into your iPad. That's like the main thing about this particular controller. It's got two additional buttons that other controllers do not have. And what those buttons do is one of them is a share button, which will allow you to instantly broadcast your gameplay directly onto YouTube. And this is actually one of the best features of this product, which is the fact that you don't actually stream the video game yourself onto YouTube. Like the Google Stadia service has like two lines. Once you hit that button, it just like streams that directly onto their servers, and there's no additional strain on your own internet connection, which that is actually an interesting innovation that I think a lot of people might gloss over when they look at this. Pretty much there's going to be, I think, a lot more people that are going to be entering the content creation market, so to speak, because of that particular functionality, because it's going to make it so easy. Like, you don't need to understand anything about, what's capture cards and OBS and all. You don't need to know anything about that. All you need to do is press the button on your controller and boom, you're live streaming straight onto YouTube. Of course, this is probably going to be exclusive to YouTube because I don't see Google like, oh yeah, sure, we'll let you stream Stadia on Twitch. Yeah, that's not going to work. This is going to be a big push for them in terms of actually getting content creators to put more content up on YouTube. And it is also going to give an advantage to developers because pretty much, like, say, for instance, I could be live streaming Assassin's Creed Odyssey directly on YouTube. I say Assassin's Creed Odyssey because it's the thing that they show the most in their presentation of Stadia. But I could be live streaming Assassin's Creed Odyssey directly onto YouTube. And like on one of the corners of my live stream, there would be like a play now button. And maybe there would be like some kind of, some kind of an incentive for me to put a button there. So maybe Ubisoft or something like that would pay a fee to creators, or maybe Google Stadia themselves will pay a fee to creators for them to have like a play now button, and people click on that button and they'll be able to play the game within 5 seconds, probably through a trial or something like that. And then, after, a week or something, they'll be like, well, I mean, this was a good trial that you had here. How'd you like to keep playing this video game? You're going to have to pay us now. And, there's going to be some kind of a setup like that because they specifically mentioned partnering up with creators. And that is going to be what's going to be the big push of this product, is going to be creators themselves on the platform, on YouTube, using Google Stadia, because it's just going to be easier for them to live stream that way, because you could literally be live streaming anywhere so long as there is a good internet connection. You don't need to take your hardware with you. You don't need to take your beefy gaming rig with you, and you can live stream the damn thing at 4K 60 FPS, even if you're not outputting 4K 60 FPS to yourself, because there will be a 4K 60 FPS feed constantly going to YouTube. All you have to do is open up the faucet, boom, you're good to go. So from a live streaming perspective, this is extremely exciting, Because like you guys have no idea the amount of hardware that I have right now on my office just to be able to live stream stuff at a reasonable frame rate with reasonable quality. Like you're talking about, I have at least 2 different capture cards. I have an HDMI matrix to pipe everything through the system. I have a dedicated streaming computer, which does need decent hardware. I have another one, which is a gaming computer. I have my consoles. I got tons and tons of hardware. With Google Stadia, you don't need any of that shit. You just like press that button, boom, live streaming onto YouTube instantly. And that is probably the most positive thing about this. Now, there's another button which does something for Google. Probably you can like do Google searches by using that other button, but whatever, that doesn't matter. In the back of this controller, there's actually a Konami code, which you can see it here. I mean, it's upside down, but you guys can see it's like up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start button. It's almost like Google saying, hey, we understand gamers. Like, we know gaming culture. Here's the Konami code. Like, when I saw that the first time, I was like, really? This is what you're talking about? The Konami code? But anyway, it's like, that's pretty much where the excitement ends for me, because I'm not excited about cloud gaming at all. I've never been, because throughout a large portion of my life, I've never really had a good internet connection to the point where I've had to go to court with one of the ISPs that was providing service for me because they were throttling my connection. Because let's face it, most ISPs, they're con artists. They literally con people. They will lie to your face about the contract you've signed. Like they will say, oh yeah, sure, unlimited data. Bullshit. Complete and utter lies. So that's going to be another concern for people that potentially haven't had to, go to bat with their ISP, because a lot of times ISPs will throttle your connections. They will cap your data and do all of these, anti-consumer practices. And a lot of people aren't even aware of that because they use their internet to like watch Netflix and read a couple of emails every now and then. So they very rarely hit their data caps. But someone like me that does a lot of live streaming, does a lot of stuff, dude, I will destroy any data cap that you put in front of me because I'll try to live stream at completely ludicrous bit rates because I don't care. I want to have the best quality for my audience. That's just the way it goes. Like this video that I'm rendering right now, that I'm recording it at 25 megabits and I'm going to upload it at 25 megabits, which anybody that works in video will be like, for YouTube? You're crazy. No, I'm not crazy. I like quality. It's just the way these things are. And the fact of the matter is beyond, even if you just look beyond all of that stuff, beyond the data caps, you're like, no, but I have perfect internet connection. Everything's fine. Do you really want everything to be in the control of a mega corporation? Do you want Google to essentially dictate whether or not you get to play the latest and greatest video game? I mean, I don't know about you guys. I don't feel comfortable about any of that. I mean, I know that right now these things are already kind of out of our control. Like I'm big into physical media. Like I like having the physical copies of video games. I'm kind of old school that way, and you guys can just say, oh, friggin' old man Rurikhan over here coming in against the changing of the guard and all that stuff. It's not like that. I just happen to like owning physical media because I like the idea of actually owning a video game, even though you don't actually own video games. We haven't owned video games for years now. Pretty much when you buy a video game, you're buying a license to play a video game. Regardless if it's a single player video game, regardless if it's whatever, you don't buy video games. You buy licenses. So from a legal standpoint, we already don't own video games. But I still, let's just say I still like the illusion of like, no, I own this, I have this piece of media in my hand. I can put it in the drive of my console and I can play my video game. But again, it doesn't matter because games nowadays all come with a day one patch anyway. And a lot of times they're so broken beyond belief that if you don't install that day one patch, the game's not going to work anyway. So it's just a direction that we're headed in that is completely inevitable. And probably there will be a couple of old guys like me that'll be just like, man, back in the day, we used to buy our games, Not everything came from the cloud, and we weren't dependent on Google for all of this crazy stuff. But anyway, before we go any further into that, let's talk about other features of Google Stadia. So one of the biggest deals that I've kind of already mentioned in here is that basically you can have a link anywhere, and you can instantly start playing the game. So like you can see right here, there's like a tweet from Assassin's Creed and they're like, play it now, g.co/games. You click that and this link will take you directly to the Assassin's Creed video game on Google Stadia. This is a chat. I'm not sure if this is like from Google Hangouts or whatever. Maybe it's just like a message on an Android phone. You can just click that, boom, done. You can start playing the game there. Like I can literally link you to a game, which this is something that they will enable people to do. Like say for instance, I'm at a boss in Dark Souls. Like I'm at, I was gonna say Taurus Demon, but let's pick something harder. Let's say that I'm at Capra Demon and I'll be like, hey dude, why don't you try to beat this boss in Dark Souls? Real easy. And you can basically send the game state that you're at. So like I'll stop at the fog gate at the Capra Demon, and then just send that to someone and be like, oh, just go through this gate, defeat this boss. It's real easy. You know, and they can just log in. They'll have my character, they'll have my save state, and it will go straight on to Capra Demon. In the same way that I say Dark Souls and give you an easy example, you can imagine any number of games that you can basically just pause, send someone a link, and they can continue the game from that particular point. At least that is one of the things that they are announcing in their service, which in my opinion doesn't make a whole lot of sense depending on the video game that you're talking about. Because I mean, they showed this, for instance, in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I'm just like, well, how does that work? Do you just like send them your character and they can just resume the game from that point? Like, isn't that going to water down games? I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like having a link to start playing the game, that sounds exciting. But to start playing the game from the start, for certain games, how would it work for you to just start playing from a certain save point? How would it work from the story? I don't know. It's kind of weird. I think that is going to have to be like on a case-by-case basis. But either way, you can see the play button all over these locations. Like here's another one, share a link. I don't know what this service is. This is on Reddit. And on Reddit, you can also just hit the play now button. So that link thing is a big deal. One of the things that they also say is that this is going to be scalable. I don't know if I have the hardware specs in here. Let me see. No, I did not bring the hardware specs. But either way, one of the things that they say is that this is going to be scalable. So like the Google Stadia is going to launch with 1080p and 4K capabilities at 60 FPS. But in the future, you will also be able to do 8K also at 60 FPS. Because naturally, if all of the hardware is in the cloud, you're not limited by a box that you have on your living room. It's literally not your problem what the hardware is, because Google Stadia just needs to ensure that they keep their servers updated. So right now, the servers that they're implementing into Google Stadia will actually have more teraflops than the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro have put together, which they showed this in a graph. They're like, oh, PS4 Pro has 4.2 teraflops. The Xbox One X has 6 teraflops. Our servers are going to have 10.7 teraflops. But to be completely honest, anyone looking at those 10.7 teraflops and be saying, oh man, that's some kick-ass hardware, it's like you fail to see the vision. It doesn't matter what those teraflops are. That number might as well be infinite as far as you're concerned, because it will keep increasing. Assuming that the product succeeds, that number will just keep increasing to meet the demands of developers. So no longer will they be limited by hardware, which a lot of people will be like, well, that's a good thing, right? Like they have no more limitations of hardware. And it's like, yeah, that's great. But again, all of the control of all of these things is in Google's hands. How much will developers have to pay Google in order to put their games on Google's servers? How much are you going to have to pay Google? Are you going to have like multiple tiers of pricing that you will have? You know, like maybe, oh, you have the basic one, which you get to play a certain number of hours or something. Or maybe the basic one can only output at 1080p. Then you have the more premium version, which is like 4K. Then you have the ultra premium version, which is like 4K and allows for 5 or 6 different connections simultaneously, or the even better premium version, which will separate between releases. So like, oh, this game comes out at this date. How about you pay us a little more and you get to play it a little bit earlier, like they're already doing now in the gaming industry. See, that's the type of pricing tiers that I'm imagining. But either way, this whole scaling up the 8K thing is like a lot of people are like, oh, that's freaking impressive. It's like, no, because once you get the technology down to just stream video games, the only thing limiting you is going to be your bandwidth, your internet bandwidth, which is another reason why I'm not a big fan of this, because we're all dependent not only on Google, but you're also going to be extremely dependent on your ISP. So basically, if you have a fight with your ISP and you're like, no, you got to pay us more, like your ISP will say, you got to pay us more because you're using all of this data, right? If you get in a fight with them, you can't play video games at all because they can just cut down your internet access, and then you'll have to wait until a new ISP comes around. You'll not be able to play video games at all during that time. So, that's another reason why I don't like to be dependent on ISPs. Cross-platform play. Now, this, I got to say, this was very, I would say disingenuous. They're like, oh, yeah, you'll be able to play across all platforms. No problem whatsoever. It's like, yes, across all platforms, but what platforms? Okay. What platforms? Well, you can play across people playing on their TVs with Google Chromecast, people on their laptops, people on their phones, people on their tablets, and people on their gaming PCs. Well, what about PS4 and Xbox One X? Oh, no, you can't do that. At least I would imagine that they're not going to allow that. Also notice that there are no Nintendo Switches in here, because naturally Google, I don't think at least that Google is going to be partnering with PlayStation 4 and Xbox One X or Nintendo, because Google is just like muscling their way into the market. And I don't think that PS4, Xbox, and Nintendo are going to be like, hey, yeah, we should all play ball together and we'll just let you have Google Stadia on. Nope, I don't think that's going to work out. Especially because like PlayStation 4 has their own PlayStation Now service, which I haven't even tested out. And they also have PlayStation Remote. See, PlayStation Remote is a service that I actually like. And it is the reason why I bought a Sony phone. I bought a Sony phone specifically so that I could play my PlayStation with PS Remote, even though that's kind of mute now because anyone can play PS Remote, I think. I think that's actually been unlocked pretty much for devices all over the world. But, it's like you still own the game. You're just playing away from your console, and when you get home, there's your console, there's your hardware, there's all your stuff. But yeah, when they say cross-platform, that's what they mean. You'll be able to play across all of these devices. I don't think you'll be able to play across Xbox One, PlayStation 4, or Nintendo Switch. Then they announced, one of the announcements that they've also made is that they're going to put Doom Eternal 4K with 60 FPS. And a lot of you guys will be like, well, why is that important? Because the biggest problem with streaming video games to you is the latency. Basically, the time it takes you to press this button. Wait, can you guys see that? The time it takes you to press this button right here, and that actually being reflected onto the screen. That is the biggest problem with streaming video games. And as someone that has played plenty of streamed video games from my PS4 Pro and from other services as well, I can tell you right now that I'm not sure that this is a problem that they can fix. Now, Google does do something which, again, is extremely disingenuous. I don't have the image here, but basically they say, oh, no, that's not a problem. The controller connects directly to our servers and doesn't go through any other server nodes. It just connects to our server node. And I'm just like, well, maybe if the person is using Google Fiber, maybe it can do that, but if someone is using any other ISP, no, that's not how it works at all. It will most definitely go through a bunch of other different servers until it reaches the Google servers, and you will still be dependent upon the ping that you will get from all of these different servers until it reaches Google servers, and that is what is going to generate the latency. The time it takes you to press a button and to see that reflected in the video feed that they are sending you. And the reason why Doom Eternal is so important for that is because Doom is an extremely twitchy game. So if they are able to successfully implement Doom Eternal 4K 60 FPS and people are actually able to play it like competently in the platform, in Google Stadia without any problems whatsoever, that is in fact impressive because it's going to be a pretty hard feat. Now the thing here is, again, this is going to depend entirely on your ISP. Like if you have Google Fiber, then yeah, probably Doom Eternal is going to work great. If you do not have Google Fiber and if you have something like a garbage Comcast or something like that, maybe it's not going to work out for you all that well. Not to mention Comcast will probably charge you out the ass for unlimited data service plan or something, at least from what I hear people saying, because I'm not in America, I'm in Portugal, so I just deal with Portugal problems when it comes to shit like that. Then something else that they've shown is that due to the way that their streaming technology works, basically you can have multiple rendering windows within a Stadia instance without really pushing the hardware all that much. This enables people to, do couch co-op, do split screen, do all kinds of different multiplayer, and just have tons of cameras being rendered in real time on your screen without necessarily taking up that much space, because they're videos. They're videos that they're sending you. So this is actually something pretty cool. Something else that they've shown that I don't have images of here is this technology that they have that allows you to switch art style for games on the fly, which was pretty impressive, but I think that should be achievable in normal hardware anyway, but maybe I just didn't understand that part of the presentation. I did gloss over a lot of it because I'm not super excited about the product. This particular portion here, you see all of these connections. This is when this guy over here was talking about how you will be able to have 1,000-player battle royale because, right now there's a lot of limits in terms of how many players you can have in a single video game because of server connections and all of that stuff. And considering that essentially you are connecting to a server, and that server is just sending you a video feed. That server itself is what is going to connect to the video game server. So there'll be no latency there, which actually allows them to program for many more players without generating lag or DDoS or any other of those situations. Like, when you connect to a video game and video games just launched, like recently we had Anthem, and everybody's trying to connect at the same time, the servers explode, right? Because it basically creates a DDoS effect. Well, if the servers are all like in the same cluster, in the same network, so say you have your game server in a network and you have your Stadia server in that same network, it's going to be able to take a lot more concurrent connections than a regular typical server client connection is able to do, because not everybody's like flooding the server at different times. There's a lot more data capacity because it's in an internal network. You can have friggin' terabit of, I don't even know if terabit is already implemented. I would imagine probably, since I stopped following like data caps and all that stuff. I would imagine we're probably past terabit networks, but yeah, they'll have a pretty outstanding capacity to accept connections, which is why you'll be able to have more players in these video games. And it just gets to a point where I'm like, do I want to see 1,000 players in a battle royale? I mean, I don't know. I'm not into battle royales anyway, so it's just something that doesn't appeal to me all that much. But overall, this should give you a pretty good idea of what Google Stadia is about. And like I said, it's like, this is inevitable. This is what gaming is moving to be in the future. It is going to be very much a Netflix-style service. At least that's what I would expect their pricing to be, because if Google is expecting to charge you on a per-game basis, it doesn't make sense. That's what OnLive tried to do, and it didn't work out for them. They would have you pay like a monthly fee and then rent video games or something like that. Like, I don't think that particular pricing system works. I think what would make sense for Stadia is very much something like a Netflix-style service. Then the problem with that becomes, what is the price? How much you got to pay to play Stadia? How much does the controller cost? Because some people are going to have to buy the controller, because if you want to play through Google Chromecast, you're not going to be able to connect your DualShock 4. You can only connect your DualShock 4 or your Xbox controller or your Nintendo Switch if you're playing on a PC. Any other device, you're going to need to have this controller in order to play Google Stadia. And, how much does this cost? How much does the subscription to Stadia cost? Is it a subscription service? How does it work? Those are going to be the big questions. Those would be the important things to know, is what is the price? How much is this going to cost me? What's the monthly fee? Am I going to have to buy video games? What's the deal with this? And so far, we just don't know. One thing that we do know is that this thing is launching in 2019. And interestingly enough, they're beginning their launch with United States, Canada, UK, and Europe. And I'm really surprised. Like, why would you not launch in Japan? Japan would be the best place to launch this product, because Japan has probably the best internet infrastructure in the world. So it would make much more sense to launch there. But I don't know. We'll see. Also, when they say Europe, it's like certain parts of Europe. So I don't expect that this is launching in Portugal, for instance, anytime soon. But yeah, the future of gaming is here, guys. Aren't you excited? All of your video games are going to be on the cloud. You're going to have even less control over how you play video games. Not to mention, I can't even imagine how people that, like modding and stuff like that. Yeah, forget about that shit, dude. That shit's not happening. Anyway, yeah, that's Google Stadia. I'm not excited about it at all. Like, I'll definitely check it out the second it launches because, like I said, from a streaming perspective, it's going to open up a lot of opportunities for content creators. But as a gamer, yeah, it's not looking good. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you didn't enjoy the video, hit the dislike button. If you think that I'm just like an old fart opposing change, because that might just be what it is. Comments and feedback in the comment section down below. See you guys on the next one.